Greetings, everyone. This is Rock and Roll Spot Connection with the Weekly Comic Book Roundup. We've covered this week's Marvel books, so now it's time to move on to this week's DC titles. No Image or Boom Studios titles this week. I was just starting to wonder when we'll be getting another issue of something that's killing the children, but I guess we'll see. Hopefully soon. Anyway, kicking things off, we've got Batman Black and White number 5. And yeah, let's take a quick look at that cover. Gary Frank's Riddler is just great. Alright, so as per usual, we've got a handful of stories. We've got A Father and Son Outing, Signals, Blue, The Riddle, and The Man Who Flies. Starting off with A Father and Son Outing. Excuse me. Bruce and Damian go to a spot in Gotham. Bruce explained to Damian that an exchange is going to take place there, and the two of them, as Batman and Robin, are going to be there to stop it. But before they do that, they're going to set the scene. Get everything ready so that basically all of their little, everything ready so that everything goes according to plan. Bruce goes over everything that'll happen with the plan, and also the necessary, why certain things are done. That night, when it's time to actually get the plan off, instead of it happening the way Bruce plans it, Damian simply jumps out, attacking the criminals, saying, "Hey, cowardly and superstitious lot, I'm Robin." And Batman kind of just face palms and smiles and probably even giggles a little. Next up, we've got Signals. Begins with Gordon standing in front of the bat signal with two others. And in the end, he decides not to turn it on, and he's got a note in his hand. It says Jim Ball Road. He crumples it up, and he's thinking back to the early days with the GCPD. And he decides he's got to do that. Tonight he has something he's got to do alone. Drives out to Ballard Industries. He's talking about how it turns out his mentor, years and years and years ago, was in fact a crooked cop. And it took Jim a little while to realize that his mentor was crooked. Going through a chemical plant, comes to a door, and inside he finds his old mentor. Old, disheveled, and Batman meets up with him, asking if Jim found what he came for. Gordon explains that he didn't find what he came for, but he found what he needed. And explains at the end that he went there looking for vengeance, and instead found mercy. Which brings us to our next entry, Blue. Four guys are at a bar. One of them is getting married the next day. Turns out the one getting married is none other than the low-level hired muscle known as the Electrocutioner. The story itself is narrated by the bartender. Explaining that her mother was afraid she'd die an old maid. And what an old maid, back then an old maid simply meant no kids, old maids just meant unmarried. Turns out, however, We learn a flashback. The sections of the story are all labeled. The first one being something old. Second part being something new, which goes over the bartender's wedding years and years previously to one Harvey Dent. That's right, it's Gilda Dent. And the reception could have gone a bit better, especially with Harvey dealing with being, District Attorney Harvey Dent of Gotham City, Harvey Dent. Something borrowed brings us back to the present where the electrocutioner's buddies are a little drunk, and one of his buddies wants to talk business. And, well, electrocutioner doesn't care about his buddy's business, and, uses his electric power on the guy. And then flashback to just after Boss Maroney tossed a cup of acid into the face of Harvey Dent, and Gilda's reaction. Which brings us to something blue, as the electrocutioner exits the bar, is met by the bartender, who pulls a gun on the electrocutioner saying, "Consider this a gift for the bride-to-be," before shooting the electrocutioner dead. Which is where the story ends. Next up, we've got The Riddle by Kieran Gillian and Jamie McKelvey. It's a choose-your-own adventure. It's kind of a choose-your-own adventure type. So, but basically, Riddler and Killer Croc are working together. Batman has to save some orphans from Killer Croc and then stop the Riddler. Choose your own adventure. This is the kind of thing I may actually just do as its own video to go over it. I think it might be kind of fun. But yeah, it's kind of fun. Next up, we have a story focusing on Nightwing. Personally, my favorite member of the Bat family. The story, The Man Who Flies, and it's basically Nightwing just reflecting on everything. How he was taught to meditate by Bruce. Also focusing on other things like his family, well, his parents, the Titans, Starfire, Barbara. Breaking both their hearts. The Titans being nearly defeated by Deathstroke. Leaving Batman. Wanting to be Batman as a kid. Realizing maybe he didn't want to be Batman once he actually was Batman. The darkness of Gotham City. The Bat villains. The cost of darkness left unnoticed. And then the good things. An abrasive hope to tend for the starving. A wondrous joy to pierce through all adversity. A guiding light to inspire the best in us all. The memory of a promise. To fly higher than any darkness can reach. And it's actually a really it's a neat story, I gotta say. Honestly, it's probably the best story in the issue, and this has actually been a really solid issue of Batman Black and White. Not to say the other issues weren't solid, this was really a good one, and that Nightwing story was so good, and that Choose Your Adventure looks like it'll be fun, and like I said, we might have a little fun with that later on. Not this week, but next week or week after. Moving on, however, we've got Detective Comics number 1035. Where we left off, a detective. Okay. Bruce was now living in his the brownstone he didn't realize he had. When he was settling in, he was also working on creating a network of satellite bat caves again. But one of his neighbors has disappeared. So, Batman's analyzing what he can about the disappearance of Sarah Worth, while the police talk to his partner. What was Sam Turn? When the mayor learns that Sarah Worth has vanished, he makes finding her a priority. Batman realizes, though, that while Sarah Worth is a big target, there's no ransom. Whoever took her was messy, so they might not have gotten far. So he's monitoring various lines, and city workers but she's found in the sewers, dead by Batman. However, close behind Batman is Gotham's finest. And of course, upon finding Batman in front of a dead body, since the GCPD is not exactly, friendly to Batman, yeah. Batman gets grazed. One of the officers fires at him, but the bullet ricochets and, hits him instead. Well, the officer, or at least one of the officers. At Sarah's funeral, her father, kind of just goes off about how he wants to punish whoever took her. He ends up getting close to the mayor. Later, Sam is noted that Sam is leaving his apartment with a gun. Batman tracks down Sam, and something is affecting Sam, though Batman's not sure what. One of the members of the mayor's staff is having some issues, and is sent home by the mayor. But after Neil is sent home, he's found by another member of the staff. Something is very wrong in his head. Meanwhile, Huntress shows up in town to save a young woman from being attacked. And Batman has left a very clearly under the influence of something Sam Turn with the police. Though it's noted that the section of sewer where Sarah was found has just been filled with concrete. And forensics never got a chance to go over it. As Bruce is returning home from one of his microcaves, he notices someone across the street. It's apparently Sarah, reanimated, but not alive. Which brings us to our backup story, starring Huntress. Huntress kind of ruminates over the fact that friends really aren't her thing. Allies? Yeah, okay. Teams? Not great, but okay. Fellow anti-heroes who never really hang out anyway? Yes. Friends, though? Never been her thing. And so, we learn that 3 months previously, in the neighborhood she's currently in, she saved a woman named Mary Knox from being mugged. And suggested, hey, look, a phone isn't worth it, okay? Someone says they want your phone, just give them your phone. And, but Huntress saved her a few more times and then started kind of, noticed, basically began learning her routine and started to, started to work her routine into her own, and Huntress started to work Mary's routine into her own. Learning about her while they walked, and, One night, however, Mary wasn't there. They had an argument, and Huntress kind of said, screw it, Then she had other stuff going on, and so she didn't have much time to deal with, or to, check back in on Mary, maybe try and make amends. Until the night she saw Mary's cat with some blood on its tail. Huntress followed the cat and found Mary, and offered to track her phone. And Huntress is going to get some payback, and that is where the issue ends. Which brings us to our final book of the week. Harley Quinn #2. Where we left off in Harley Quinn #1, Harley having moved back to Gotham and become something of a member of the Bat Squad, was she decided she was going to try and help reform at least the members of the Joker's clown army, or former henchmen and so on and so forth, who wanted to help, at least at the very least try and help the ones who wanted to be helped. However, Dr. Hugo Strange was released from prison. Why? Well, why was Hugo Strange released from prison? Well, he was released so that he could spearhead Gotham's new Secure and Fearless Engagement Program, or SAFE. Of course, as Harley watches the press conference where Mayor Nakano explains all this, she does, it does kind of occur to her that everyone Gotham has this really weird habit of handing out second chances to maladjusted misfits, like Halloween candy, to all of them except for her. But Strange kind of goes on about how he's not always been allied to the city, but he understands the power of reformation, and he'll help the clowns in Gotham. That is his that is what he is there to do. Help the clowns. Yeah, Harley's not buying it. Noting that he clearly didn't apologize for anything. Just just said some word salad. Anyway, another plot point from last issue was that what inspired Harley to really do what she could to help the clowns was running into a former clown by the name of Kevin. Well, after Harley's kicked out of the coffee shop she was she was in line at, and for her outburst, Kevin finds her, and apparently he got her coffee, or he got coffee for her. Didn't know what kind to get, but and Harley does not like black coffee. Explaining that only psychopaths drink coffee without sugar. But She talks to Kevin about what, the whole Hugo Strange thing. And she kind of thinks, well, hey, if you want to help the clowns, maybe I can do something else. But they stop at a burned out storefront. Kevin having to really get a look at it and found out that months ago during the Joker War, Kevin burned it down. After throwing a Molotov cocktail inside of it, someone inside called for help. He tried to get the others to, hey, go to potentially go with him and help the person inside, but the rest left and the cops were on their way, and Kevin opted not to. But so she asked, since you basically kind of, you used to run with Joker, you used to be a bad guy, but now you're working with Batman. You're not bad. How do you become good? But and she also explains what happened with the store, with the building, and so they go in and check out what's left. Elsewhere in Gotham, at the safe facility, apparently they have a hotline up and running. People can report, Gotham citizens can report people they believe to be clowns, who are then brought before Strange, and, well, Strange believes, of course, that all of them just really needs to take a good, long, hard look in the mirror. They want to see clowns. So yeah, it's Hugo Strange being, Hugo Strange. But he gets a call that there's a call from the hotline about Harley. So a couple orderlies are sent to deal with her. And her and Kevin deal with the orderlies, steal their vehicle, and hit the road. The vehicle, however, is, of course, equipped with a tracker. And that is where the issue ends. And that is going to be it for this week's Roundup. As always, feel free to like, share, and subscribe. Links to my Facebook, Twitter, Patreon, and PayPal can be found in the description box down below. Quick review of Harley Quinn #2. I'm enjoying where the title's going. I don't know. That urban legends story with focusing on Harley and Ivy really got me figuring that, especially since it's said to be continued in Harley Quinn, really made me think that, part of what was been going on in Harley's book was Harley trying to find Ivy. But apparently that's Catwoman's thing, so I guess we'll just have to see how things pan out from there. But anyway, spiel's all done. I share YouTube things, social media stuff. Yeah, so this is Rock and Roll Spock signing off, saying live long and rock hard.